Hello, my name is Leonard Knight, and I made this mountain, and I'd love to give you a tour of it. I'll see if this is in tune, okay?
Okay.
And I'd like to sing a song that's a real sad song, but people seem to like it. Boy, my guitar is out of tune about a mile.
I wouldn't call it voyeurism. It's kind of like a folk arcade. Saving it would be Herculean effort. Leonard Knight worked on this sculpture 360 days a year for 20 plus years. And there is nobody on the planet that's going to have the dedication, and that's what it takes to keep it pristine. And without that dedication, it's going to deteriorate. It's just the way it is. You know, there's no blues song. We all go back to Mother Earth. And the last 10, other than the addition of the grotto over here, has just been maintenance. Paint down here is over 1/8 of an inch thick. Now, how many coats of paint is that? I would say probably 10 to 20. Mm-hmm. And that's what's holding it together. Paint is a structural element of this place. It's very, very hard for volunteers to equal zealotry. Even the Watts Towers, which is arguably the most important folk art, naive folk art piece in the country, if not the world, is way behind in its maintenance. And it's made out of steel and concrete. And this isn't. This is made out of dirt and paint. And that's it. And just one hell of a lot of hard work.
The idea of looking for Leonard, or what draws us to Salvation Mountain, for me is part of this whole other bigger question of what draws us to art, period, and why do we visit certain art spaces multiple times. And I was saying, I've been to the National Gallery and I tend to go to the same room every single time. Why? I don't know why that room. What's kind of great about Salvation Mountain, and it's an example of a piece of folk art that's very much like any type of artwork that people just want to go back and re-experience it. And not everybody, but those that do will be really committed to that process. And that's, to me, what art does. It sort of takes you out of your everyday and sort of transplants you to this other world. The process of traveling to get there, and then to have Salvation Mountain against this kind of desolate backdrop, automatically creates a sort of energy draw. And the experience of being there, activating on multiple levels, not just visually.
Oh, there's nothing on the radio here. Oh, it's Adrian. Hello?
Hey, is this still driving up to Salvation Mountain?
Yeah. Why? What's up?
Because I forgot to tell you, I heard on KPBS radio that Leonard Knight passed away. But now there's all this talk about what's going to happen to the mountain.
Now what, right? What would the mountain be like with its creator gone? I later found out that PBS made a mistake and Leonard was indeed still alive, that he had been moved to a care facility in San Diego, only after I made a fool of myself telling everyone he was dead. Still, I'd never get to meet him. Visitors weren't allowed, and I was told he was so sick he would never return to the mountain. So I started to look for him in other ways by taking my friends out here with me, thinking of the space as an absence or as a mystique.
But as we romped around this riot of color, I couldn't help but think about an article I had just read
by Joe Hernandez, who's the executive director of Spaces, an organization that helps preserve outsider art. She was pretty sure that it would be impossible to save Salvation Mountain. Naturally, I wondered what Leonard would want. I mean, would he just want his mountain to sort of be swallowed by the extremities of the desert? The more I came out here, the more I got to know everyone, including the Salvation Mountain Board. And I realized that with any grassroots kind of organization, there's a lot of politics. And sadly, it seemed like internal combustion was on its way.
I finally know what it's like to be here. It's like a dream. Like, it feels it's not real. I don't know, it's just that surreal feeling. Especially being here so quiet, it's not what you expect. That it feels like you just woke up somewhere. It's not a bad dream, it's like one of those dreams where you are in this amazing, colorful world. It feels like it's not artificial, even though it mostly... I don't know, there's just something really organic about it. It looks like a bunch of trees growing into each other. I think it's that obsession and the story behind it, and if someone didn't know the story, that would be amazing too. If they just stumbled upon this out of nowhere, they might think 50 people built it, not one man by himself. I kind of feel like every time I turn a corner, I'd see him even though I've never met him. I find that I'm actually looking for him.
In 1967, Leonard had a religious experience, and he became so moved by the feeling that came over him that he catapulted himself into this deep conviction to tell the world that God is love. And somehow he came up with the idea to hand sew a 200-foot balloon, hoping that kids all over the world would see it. He ended up in Slab City after he'd traveled coast to coast for 16 years. He picked apples, he cut down cottonwood to raise the money solely to piece this balloon together. When he heard that one didn't need a permit to do anything in Slab City, he headed there. And oddly, his truck broke down right there at that little mesa at its entrance. The balloon never launched, but Leonard's spirit remained. And he decided that he'd get his truck fixed, he'd paint a little balloon on the side of that mesa, and the rest is history.
The sewing machine from scratch and had a lot of fun doing it. But I'm really anxious about getting it up and getting it onto papers and in TVs, and maybe millions of people will recognize that Jesus is closer than they think because of this balloon.
The first attempt was made with diluted cement and junk from the dump. For 5 years, he tried to make it cheap, fast, and easy, until one day in 1989, the mountain crumbled within 30 seconds.
You told us a story that was pretty funny, and you've told us before about having done in a videotape, having explained that this mountain's stronger than it could possibly.
I'd like to tell that again, if you want to get that on.
Yeah.
Okay. About 10 days before the mountain fell down, I had a half-hour, more or less, video up there, and I was telling him how tough it was. I was mouthing off and telling him, boy, I got palm leaves in this monument, and it's 5 foot thick, and it's the toughest monument in the whole valley. And I was just talking on and on and on, and I really did think it was tough. And anyway, make a long story short, 10 days later, without the wind blowing, it totally fell down. And you'll have a picture of that, I think, when it totally collapsed. So I don't think I'm going to brag much about it anymore. I'll just do it, if I can. I'll be right up. Boy, is that sticky. Yes, it's got a natural indentation here, so I think if I get about 200 gallons of blue paint on there, it'll look like a waterfalls, and I can paint little streams to all the flowers coming up, and that's my plans. And I've got steps all the way coming up here, which I'm going to have painted green when I get done, so everybody can easily step on them. And I think it's all falling into place real good, because people are still donating and loving me a lot. I'm enthused with everything. People really are turning my enthusiasm way up to 100%. So I just feel like working on this and never been happier in my life.
After the fall of the first mountain, Leonard said, "Okay, that didn't work. Okay, God, you do it." Somehow, he tapped into his intuition and discovered that the entire face of the mesa he was living on was filled with adobe. And he started mixing the adobe with water and straw, and this became the new force behind the structural component. People that would drive by would see his hard work and determination and the whole anomaly of it, and would come back with tons and tons and tons of paint. Approximately 100,000 gallons of paint make up the structure of Salvation Mountain. The base of the trees inside the grotto are made of old tires that he finds in the desert, and the flowers, all he does is throw down some adobe, put some paint on it, and punch his fist in. And there you go. There's the flower. He throws old car doors inside to make walls. And he does it all just the sweat of his brow. No electricity, no running water, no air conditioning.
I think it's going good. I'm really surprised that people like it so much. But they stop by and they just look at it and they'll say, wow. And most everybody thinks there's a lot of effort in it. But whatever it is, I'm sure getting a lot of paint. Boy, I must have gotten 200 gallons in the past 3 weeks or so.
It's always pleasant. You know, it's always nice to come out here. It's sad to see parts of it going, but, you know, as long as I've been looking at it, I really, deep down, always understood that it would go away. You know, at least the county didn't destroy it like they tried to a couple of times by bulldozing it. But this thing is Leonard, and when Leonard goes, I don't think there's anything on earth can save it other than $10 or $12 million, endowment. And then there would have to be a crew of 20 out here working 5 days a week to keep this thing up. The people that live out here are optimists, or else they couldn't be here. I'd not be willing to bet, but I have some understanding that this has really given a number of people purpose. You know, they come out here and they see the hard work and the dedication, and the volunteer people donate all this paint. I don't know how many 100,000 gallons of paint there are out here, but, you know, Leonard didn't buy it.
I think it's such a fascinating story for everyone that talks to Leonard or that knows his story, because they're trying to understand and be him in a way that no one is. I mean, no one's simple these days. I don't think anybody's simple. There's very few people, and the people that are simple don't have computers or TV and probably don't even know about Leonard, you know, and they're happy. But everyone that meets him, they're trying to be simple. They're trying to, you know, typically they're trying to just love God. Sometimes they're having trouble with that, and you know, he's kind of the closest to, I don't want to say he's an idol, but I mean, he's kind of like a perfect person for a lot of people, and that a lot of people want to be what he is, you know. And back to the guy, I mean, he will tell you that he's the only person that, or he will tell you that he talks to God, and he's definitely the only person I believe. I mean, and it's evident in his whole life, you know, with things he's done, with things he's changed. I mean, it takes a very special person to put up with all the garbage he's done in his life, and he credits it all. He credits it all to God, and if he's not going to credit it to, if he were to credit it to Buddha, I believe he talks to Buddha. You know, it's just whoever he wants to credit it to, I give that person credit, and in this case, it's God. So you just got to take his word for it.
And Leonard is standing there, jumping up and down, waving his arms, saying, "Connect, reconnect. You know, it's okay. God loves you, and so does everybody else if you open your heart." You know, that's his whole message. That's it. It can't be more simple, and that's his other catchphrase is keep it simple. And so, yeah, that is something that everybody, I think everybody feels a lack of in their life, is that connection with their heart.
Still, you know, I never thought that I would get to meet Leonard Knight until one day. Hey, Adriana, it's Kristen. I'm actually driving out to Salvation Mountain right now. I don't know. I got a tip, like a secret tip, that they were going to take Leonard out of the home and that maybe I should magically be there to meet him.
You're the girl that's writing a book on this, a story or something?
Well, I'm shooting a documentary for my school.
I'd like to share one of them that nobody can understand. God is so loved the world that he gave us Jesus. And in the Bible it says that God, Jesus, we're going to run and not worry. We're going to walk and not faint. And we're going to be in the house of the Lord forever and ever. So God's going to have to give us clothing that we'll live on forever and ever and ever. Isn't that hard to believe? But it's in the Bible. God so loved the world that he gave us Jesus. And you can run and not faint. You can walk and be happy. And you're going to the house of the Lord forever and ever. Uh-huh. What kind of clothing am I going to have? He's going to have to remold us. And the Bible says that he's going to remold our clothes. See, things are in the Bible that it's impossible for human beings to understand. But if you look in the Bible, it's just plain amazing.
Leonard, I think that God so loved the world that he gave us Leonard Knight.
No. Boy, if he said that, he made a mistake.
Well, I believe it.
What a lucky girl I was. I've been back to the mountains since, and it continues to erode, and there still aren't any solutions as far as proper maintenance.